Welcome to Liberty Today. On today's program, we'll hear from the King Wingnut. Stacy Wollman fills us in on the cross-country Relay for Life. We'll meet the author of a brand new novel called Muted Gray. And we'll hear Ed Randazzo's top 10 things you don't want to hear from your legislator. All on today's Liberty Today.
We're back in the studio with former state senator Bill Napoli. And Bill, you said you wouldn't wear this hat, but Senator Napoli is the King Wingnut. He's the daddy of them all. I think, Bill, when wingnuts became a popular term in western South Dakota, it was you they were thinking about.
Really?
I think so.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In case you don't know, every week Bill and several other, well, I don't know, a couple dozen people or more meet and have lunch together and talk about things that are serious concerns to conservatives. It's a great time, isn't it, Bill?
It's a great time.
And if you ever wanted to participate in one of those lunches, you'd enjoy it, and we'd be glad to have them, I think, wouldn't you, Bill?
Well, absolutely. Wingnuts are open to anyone. Our official name, of course, is the South Dakota Conservatives, but we love that Wingnuts name so much that we adopted it and we kept it. And we started out with 6 people 3.5 years ago, and now we can get upwards of 40, 50 people that come, and we have lunch, and we talk issues, and we have open discussion, and we have guest speakers. Guests come in. We've had some pretty big shots. We've had a lot of people in the governor's office, legislators. We've had people from the Ku Klux Klan. We've had people of legalized marijuana. We've had people that want to abolish.
That was a happy lunch, I'll bet.
Well, I don't know. I don't remember.
It's
a fun time, though. But if you want to just come have a good lunch and a fun time, come join us. It's every Tuesday at the Eagles Lodge at 11:30.
And, you know, my wife affectionately refuses to call it the Wingnut. She calls you the Nutcakes.
Well, that could
It fits,
be,
though.
yeah, it fits some cases, yeah.
Now that we're talking about something serious, let's move to something serious. Former Governor Mike Rounds, as you know, is on a mission to go to the United States Senate and make things better there. How do you think that's going to work out for us?
There are times in politics when I've been disappointed. And this is probably the worst case scenario that I can imagine, that if this happened would be unbelievable for the people of South Dakota.
Unbelievable good, unbelievable bad.
I don't know if I want to use the word bad, but it would be devastating.
Okay, well, that's close enough. He said at a recent meeting that he had never supported Obamacare. Personally, I have some experience where I introduced the Health Care Freedom Act in the state Senate. It would have nullified Obamacare in South Dakota. Then Governor Mike Rounds sent his chief of staff to kill that bill, and they've been relentless to kill every anti-Obamacare bill that's come forward, haven't they?
Yes. And I think they're beginning to regret that now. Now that we're starting to look at the costs, I know the Dugard administration is backing up and taking in their breath a little bit and saying, oh my God, what have we done? Because the costs are so astronomical under this bill. I'm not sure the state of South Dakota can make it through it.
Well, when we talk about devastating financial events, when Governor Mike Rounds turned over the keys to the governor's mansion, he left a little something in the corner.
You know, there's a difference between a structural deficit and a real deficit. When Mike Rounds took over, I was in the legislature at the time, and he inherited a $35 million structural deficit, which is normal, and that's not bad. It happens every year.
And that's a structural deficit.
That's a structural deficit because we spend money that we haven't collected yet. Okay?
Yes.
That's a structural deficit. When he left office, he left a $125 million real deficit. Not structural, but real.
So you could say a bad check for $125 million had been written
we
by...
were just flabbergasted when he walked out of the door and handed the keys to Dugard and said, shook his hand and said, good luck. And behind the scenes, he handed him a bill for $125 million and said, here, straighten this out. And then said he wanted to go to Congress and straighten those guys out.
Yeah, and if you're going to straighten something out that way, it's probably the wrong way.
Well, yes, and it begs the question, if you're going to or are willing to elect a person that in 8 years ran up $125 million deficit that he could not and would not deal with. And now you want to send him to Congress, where they're notorious for running billions of dollars of deficits. He's going to fit right in, but he's going to hurt us bad.
Well, and not only that, I mean, there's a list of things that happened under the Rounds-Dugard administration. One of them was food stamp recipients increased by, I don't know the numbers exactly, but it seems like it was 40% or something. Terrible increase. And what does that tell us? It tells us that economic hard times were increasing in South Dakota for South Dakota taxpayers and families. And it tells us that the government was spending more, as evidenced by this $125 million bad
well, now
check.
bear in mind, Gordon, that those 8 years that Rounds was in office were not negative deficit years. The state of South Dakota actually made money those years, up to $30 million a year plus. So the deficit included that as spending.
They spent it all.
Yes.
Plus
extra.
Yeah. Well, that might qualify him to be president.
Well, tongue in cheek, yes.
Okay, well, we're going to call that a wrap for right now, and hope that doesn't happen. Thank you, Bill, for being with us today.
Well, thanks for having me.